So we want to start off by just, I know you play Smokey, Diana, amazing. If you all can just go through and tell us, give us your names and who you play. I know for some of you it's a lot of people.
My name's Donald Weber. I play a bunch of people. I play Mickey Stevenson, who's like a big A&R guy from Motown. One of the Temptations, Paul Williams. I also cover, I also play Dr. Martin Luther King. And I cover Stevie Wonder, and I also am on sometimes for Berry Gordy.
He's the Meryl Streep of our show. I'm Bryan Terrell Clark, and I play Marvin Gaye.
Nice. My name is Allison Semmes, and I play Florence Ballard in The Supremes. I'm also random ensemble, like a protester and a solid gold dancer. And then I'll be playing Diana Ross on the national tour.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Jawan Jackson, and I play Melvin Franklin in The Temptations. And also, I'm one of the Miracles, Smokey Robinson, the Miracles, and I also am one of the Brick House singers.
My name is Charl Brown, and I play Smokey Robinson.
Hi, my name is Krisha Marcano, and I cover all the women except Diana Ross. So I'm all the women.
You don't cover me, girl.
And that's like, what, 20 women? 12 tracks.
Okay, that's a lot. I'm Krystal Joy Brown, and I play Diana Ross.
Yeah.
And I'm Jarran Muse. I'm also one of the male swings at the show, so I cover 25 different tracks in the show, including Smokey Robinson and Marvin Gaye. And I'm also going to be playing Marvin Gaye on the new national tour.
Nice.
So let's start generally. As we said, the show last night was incredible. It looks like a ton of fun. I've never seen people in the audience having that much fun at a show. You guys look like you're having a blast. It's a big cast. Is it as fun as it looks?
Yes.
Be honest.
No, it really is. I mean, listen, we've all done a lot of shows and done a lot of theater, and you get upset at yourself when you find yourself humming the tunes at home usually. But with this show, when you're singing the songs at home, you're actually happy. You're like, yeah, I'm going to keep singing it. I don't care. I love this music. Also, the hijinks and hilarity that happens backstage is what keeps us really going. Or on stage. Or shh, don't tell, our stage manager's here. But yeah, we have a lot of fun as a cast. We're actually a really big family, and we feel like we are the next generation of the Motown legacy.
I saw you guys do something really funny on stage. Somebody's wig was just a little bit like the piece was coming
I
off.
saw that last
and you guys were doing a scene and you're all going like doing your lines and stuff. You're like,
it was just a nice little like.
We try and help each other out when we can.
It's really funny.
But it felt real. It was. It felt natural. It didn't feel like.
They definitely did that in the 60s. You know?
Of course, yeah. Yeah, the wig budget for this show must have been huge.
Well, we have, we have 150 wigs that appear on stage nightly in the building with all the swings and everything. We have over 300, around 350 wigs altogether. And, you know, our wig department, props to them, they have to actually restyle the wigs before every show. We do 8 shows a week. They have to make sure that they're maintained. They have to refit them on people if they're coming into the show. So there's a lot of work that goes on just into the wigs alone.
Are they the busiest people on the show?
Yeah. They are. The costumes is very busy too.
Have there ever been any wig mishaps? Like you've come out, oh my God, I'm 70s Smokey. You know, it's the 60s.
It happens in Swingland a lot because we have to go on for different people at the drop of a hat. Someone can call out at the beginning of a show, midway during a show, so the costume department has to go down into the basement to get your costumes and your wigs, and sometimes you may have a different wig on than is correct for that period. Also, we forgot someone, Alvin Hough Jr.
Alvin Hough Jr.
Alvin over there on the keys.
Let's get you a mic because it's good.
Thank you, Jarran. I'm Alvin Hough. I'm one of the keyboard players in the pit every night. I'm also one of the now 4 conductors that have done.
Were you conducting last night?
Well, I was not conducting last night, but I was playing keyboard for you down in the pit. So all those good things you heard on the piano, they were me.
I didn't hear any wrong notes.
Good. The one thing about Alvin that we love too when he's conducting is he actually is acting down there in the pit.
Of course.
He has reactions to what's going on stage, so it's great to have him down there conducting.
Part of the show.
Last night we were watching the musical director. Is that what
the conductor?
The conductor.
Yeah, I don't know.
That guy was having a blast. He was like bopping along to every single song for like what, a 2-hour show?
2
hours and 45 minutes.
Does he do that? He's working harder than you guys. How is that every night?
Yeah, I mean, look, the music is infectious, and so if you're in charge of the music, it's really infectious, and you have to be grooving along with it and stay in the groove that we're setting. Yeah.
All right, let's get into some.
Back on track, yeah.
Let's really start now. Okay.
So I've seen some pictures of Smokey Robinson, Berry Gordy, Diana Ross showing up to the actual show. Do they do that a lot? How many of you have performed the person to the person?
Well, I will take this one. Smokey Robinson was just at our show on Wednesday. It was his birthday, and he decided to come. Well, he comes to New York every year for his birthday, but this year he decided to come see the show with his wife. It's also her birthday as well, and they came to the show. We knew they were there beforehand, and we had cake with him that was provided by our wonderful Spot Co team that's back there, and we had a party for him backstage after the show. So that was, for me, it's always a little nerve-wracking to know that he's there. Luckily, though, he has been there a few times now, so it wasn't as nerve-wracking as the first time, but they all came opening night. Diana Ross, Smokey Robinson, Stevie Wonder, Gladys Knight. I mean, everyone pretty much who was still with us was able to be there. Unfortunately,
were the Pips there?
I don't think we had any Pips there on opening, but we did also have a friends and family night the week prior to opening, where a lot of the other Miracles and other members of groups, Temptations and family members came as well. So everyone who is pretty much who's been involved in Motown, who is still with us, has come to see the show at some point.
Wow.
How about, do you have any Diana Ross stories, KJ?
Well, I just joined the cast 3 weeks ago. So I have not met her yet, but I have like murmurings that she's coming. So, and I asked, I was like, please don't tell me. Please don't tell me. Like, tell me as soon as I walk off stage, because I think I will poop myself. Because she has, if you go into my dressing room, literally, it's a shrine to Diana Ross at this point. She has just kind of taken over my world, and I literally have dreams about her most nights. I actually did just last night. So, yeah. I think that, meeting Smokey Robinson was already like crazy. Sitting with Berry Gordy and going over notes from the first day that he saw me, and just sitting there, and he's like, okay, I'll be Berry Gordy and you be Diana Ross. And I'm like, what?
Here we go.
Exactly. So we're like, we're doing these scenes together, and I'm like, what? Oh my God! And he's so nice, and but it's really amazing to meet these legends, and also to kind of know. This is how we got our start. This is how we knew that we could become entertainers. These people have created the path for us as Black entertainers to even have a platform to stand on. So it's not just meeting these amazing icons. It's kind of meeting the people that inspired you to even having the ability to have this kind of a dream.
Well, as far as meeting Diana Ross, I don't think you have anything to worry about, because you become her. I couldn't believe. I mean, just we were talking about what you do with your mouth when you sing like her. It's
exactly
so
like her.
I don't know how you get that. It's like you have that same like glow that she kind of gives off.
I watch a lot of YouTubes of her. Honestly, like hours of YouTubes watching her and photos and just Googling her. But seriously, just constantly watching her, and whenever I start to feel like I've become too much of like this century or like right now, I just start to watch her again, because it is easy to fall into, oh yeah, well they laugh when I do this, but I'm like, that's not something she would do. So I have to like really make sure that it stays within the period and how she does things and how she moves.
She's definitely one of the top divas, so you got to do it right.
Yeah, I mean, she was to me, she's the first Black megastar, female megastar. So, and that's just kind of like, wow.
Well, and Charl, you have that. You don't. I mean, you become Smokey as well. I mean, and that voice that you do. Can you give us?
I had to become Smokey to play Smokey. It's true though. Like she said, we luckily live in an age where we can Google things and look them up on YouTube and try and research. Unfortunately and unfortunately, there wasn't a lot that was captured of them, especially in the black and white era in the '60s. But there are a few key things that we actually portray in our show. So I went back and I just did my research. I also read his autobiography just to get a sense of him. And we also have the great resource, Mr. Gordy, we should mention, wrote the show himself. He is our book writer. This is the story being told from his point of view, how he remembers things. So we also have him as a great tool, because he's bringing in, he recorded everything, all the meetings they had, everything that was going on at Motown. Luckily, he recorded everything, and his sister, Esther, actually encouraged him to keep things as well. So now they have, artifacts and things that they wouldn't normally think were important, because they didn't know how big this was going to be. So, I got a chance to listen to some of the recordings of the quality control meeting that we have in the show, and other things of the way things were going on behind closed doors, because we're telling the full story, not just what in front of the cameras on the stage. So we're telling the story of what happened in the Hitsville house, and so we luckily have Mr. Gordy as a resource to actually tell us how things were. And Smokey's a very nice and wonderful man in front of the cameras, and he is behind the stage too. But also they had some really serious heated arguments because it was about the art, and the passion came out. So I got a chance to hear all the sides of it, not just the side of a fan.
Right, Smokey getting mad.
Smokey getting
hey,
mad.
Man, back off.
He definitely got mad.
Yeah, so we're obsessed with voices and doing voices. Is there a struggle to do that soft voice and still project to a theater? I mean, you're mic'd, but still.
Yeah, I mean, there is a technique to it. I mean, I just had to kind of train myself to find where Smokey meets, and Charl as the performer can do it 8 times a week and not hurt myself and be able to actually come to work every day. Yeah. So yeah, there is but now I've been doing it now for almost a year, so it's kind of second nature to me, but it definitely took me a while to develop that sound.
And do you guys, I know this is a hugely talented cast. The impressions are outstanding, and you're doing some of the most famous people in the world: Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, Smokey, Diana. Do you all do any other impressions that you'd like to share with us?
I don't really. Yeah.
Nobody?
Donald does. All right. All right, listen. I actually don't. But I'm an improv, and you can see me at any time.
Just get a running start into it and see what happens, right?
We'll come back to that one.
Well, what's great about, I think a lot of times in songbook musicals, that would technically be what this would be, sort of.
Jukebox
Songbook. Sometimes the popular songs will get a little too Broadwayed up for my taste. It'll be like, every rose has its thorn, that kind of thing. And it sort of takes me.
The musical?
Yeah. Well, what was it? The Rock of Ages. But you guys did a really good job of sort of honoring the way the songs were originally sung. And it's still very much a Broadway show, but it didn't have that thing that sort of can take me out of it sometimes but I think sometimes that happens, I guess, to protect the voice. It's an easier way to sing over time. Do you have No?
Well, I'll tell you this too. Mr. Gordy was also very adamant about the fact that he didn't want to Broadwayize Motown. He wanted to bring Motown to Broadway. And so he was luckily, like I said, he was involved so much that they made sure that the sound remained authentic and true, and that we kept the soul of the music, but we were telling the story in a Broadway format.
Is that vocally taxing, the
Yes.
style of, yeah?
It is.
I'm going to put the spotlight on Bryan for a second. He sings What's Going On, and I think out of all of the songs in our show, that's probably the song that sounds the least like it does on the record. And it was changed specifically for our show. And anyway, I'm just going to kind of...
Well, I think that the way music functions I'm kind of like you. Don't kill me. I hate Broadway music. It's so... It's my Broadway debut, but it's so corny, and it's like... cheesy, you know what I mean. There's been some breakthroughs and some changes in Broadway music. I think as time and history has changed. I mean, when the first time I heard Rent, I went, oh yeah, like that. I like that. But again, like you, I couldn't stand it. And the idea that this show was going to be authentic to Motown was interesting, but it's tricky because the way music functions in our show is really in 3 different forms. You've got the concert performance, so it might look a little bit like what you just saw. So Grapevine in the show, I mean, Marvin's at a concert. And then you've got music in the studio. We've got a Grapevine version that Gladys Knight sings, and she's recording the song. So that's 2 ways that they function. But the third is it's storytelling, and that's the way that What's Going On ends Act 1. Martin Luther King is shot. And it was a crazy time in Detroit. There were riots, there were fires. It was a violent time. It was a scary time. It was a heightened emotional time. And What's Going On was not created until after that, in terms of the real timeline. Mm-hmm. But it was just the perfect song to kind of emote and kind of tell the story of what's happening on the stage. And so the orchestration of it and the way it's sung and the way it's portrayed is more about telling the story of what's happening in the moment on the stage as opposed to it being about a performance, if that makes sense. So the way that the music works in the show is really in those 3 different ways. There's a live performance, there's studio performance, and then there's storytelling.
I really enjoyed your Marvin Gaye moves, by the way.
Thank you. It's all in the pelvis.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to add on to that. From the orchestral side of things, there's actually an 18-piece orchestra in the pit under the stage playing every show. It's early on, well, it still happens, but early on I used to get really upset and frustrated when people would lean over the front row and, oh my God, there are people down there. Were you there the whole? Yes, we were there the whole 3 hours. Yes, there are people in 2014 that can play music that was written 50, 60 years ago. Of course we can. But everyone says, oh, it sounded so much like the recording. And I used to be upset by that, but now I take it as like the utmost, the highest of compliments, because that's what Mr. Gordy wanted from the get-go. He wanted it to sound, to have the Motown sound in your face, not to sound like Broadway, not to be mixed different way, for it to actually sound like you're listening to the actual recording that people have in their living rooms from 50 years ago. So I love the fact that he has remained true to keeping that sound every night, and it's something that that's what makes coming to do the show every night so much fun. I can speak for every guy down in the pit. We have so much, 17 guys and 1 girl. For all of us down in the pit, we have so much fun every night.
I guess, let me tag this question on to Bryan, what you were saying. This is your Broadway debut, and your first time at Google. Yeah. This is your Google debut. You do until you work here all day. Okay. I love it here if my boss is here. But out of all the shows out there, I want to just propose this to everybody here. Start with Bryan. Out of all the shows, I would think as a performer, like many people, I love this music. I love Motown music. Looks like you guys do as well. It's clear as day. Was this a little extra special getting this show? Can you tell us about the audition process, maybe getting the call that you got it? If it doesn't endanger.
The right one. It was really hard. I initially auditioned for. We did workshops about 2 years. I think it started about 2.5 years before. They had a reading in LA, which was about three years, almost 3 years before. But I kind of came into the process when they were still developing the show. So I was a temptation. I was shoot-a-wop popping in the back, and it was great, and I loved it. But I'm in the pictures still. If you look really close, I'm still there as a temptation. But I had my eyes on Marvin Gaye. I mean, he was my favorite of the Motown artists, and I got an opportunity to audition for the workshop, and I got it. And for 3 weeks, I was kind of like obsessed, the same way KJ was with Marvin Gaye. Well, I was obsessed before that, but for that time. And then we finished the workshop, and we found out we were going to Broadway, and they were like, "We're gonna go and audition everyone else in the country but you." We like what you did, but we don't know. I mean, you're perfect, but you're good. We're just gonna look. And so I kind of, the way you feel when you have to pee really bad, I kind of felt that way for like months. I didn't, there was nobody to go to because I was just waiting. I mean, if you've ever had that dream job, that one thing that you've just always wanted, and someone says to you, almost, but not yet. And so rehearsal, fast forward, the first rehearsal of the Broadway production was going to begin on a Monday. It is now a Thursday. They said, we're going to do promotion shots, and we'd like you to come in and take these pictures. So I go in, and I'm like, who am I playing? Who am I dressing up? And they go, we're going to put you in a Temptations costume. And I went, rehearsal starts on Monday, it's Thursday. So they bring me to the front, and they go, just in case you're the lead singer of the Temptations, we want to put you in the front. And I went, I'm going to be Marvin. And so I did the whole thing as Marvin. So I'm taking pictures of Temptation, but I'm doing like Marvin Gaye moves, and the choreographers are laughing. They brought me in on Friday. I didn't hear anything. Friday, before the Monday that rehearsal starts, they said, Berry Gordy wants to see you again at 6 p.m. at night. So I go in, I audition, and at this point, I'm almost feeling like the pee is going to run down my leg. And I left there and I went to go see a show. I don't even really remember what show it was. I know Scarlett Johansson was in it. Because my brain was just in a fog. And at intermission, I got a call from the director, and he goes, yeah, you left something at the audition. Can you, yeah, I was thinking, he goes, can you come outside? So I go outside, and I'm like, he's going to tell me I got this job. He's going to tell me I got it. And he's standing there with this look of utter disappointment on his face. And he's like, man, listen, you're so close to Marvin, and it's great, but, Berry Gordy is looking for his friend that's passed on. He's dead. And that's what's so hard about finding Marvin. A lot of the other people are alive. Marvin's not here. And you did your best, man. You did your best. And you're fantastic, and we love you. and he's walking me outside. It's raining. I'm like literally about to cry. And then the producer, Kevin McCullum, walks around the corner and he goes, Byron. And I was like, he goes, your name's Bryan. It's that Y in your name that makes me want to call you Byron instead of Bryan. But here's a better name. What if I just called you Marvin Gaye? And I like fell out on the floor.
And peed the greatest pee
And peed the greatest pee ever. No one could tell because it was raining outside. And it was one of those moments because they lifted me off the ground and right across the street, they had just put up the marquee for MOTOWN and it was lit up. So they literally picked me up and they were like, that's where you'll be. And I was just like was crying and it was a mess. But it was the best gift in the world to kind of start my Broadway run that way.
A little messed up that they did that to you.
Yeah, on the
A
marquee.
little sadistic, but still cool.
On the marquee, it's like, and Byron as Marvin Gaye.
Oh man. So well, not to focus on you too much here, but there's an amazing performance of "You're All I Need to Get By," which is probably one of my favorite songs of Marvin Gaye's. It's an amazing duet that you do as Diana Ross with Berry Gordy. Now, did you feel kind of gypped out of that song because that's Marvin's song?
Man, I wanted to set stuff on fire, but no, I'm joking. I didn't feel gypped. I think it's the way it goes back to the way music functions in our show. It's one of those things where it's more of a storytelling moment, and yeah, and it's one of those things where it's one of the most powerful love songs. I mean, to me, it's one of my favorite love songs, and so it just made sense to tell the story of this love affair that Berry Gordy had with Diana Ross, using that song, even though they didn't sing it. It's like, it just makes sense in the moment if you come and see the show. But I think that what's magical about the show in terms of the way music works is if you've ever seen Berry Gordy really look at Diana Ross in real life, which we've had the privilege to do, he is obsessed with her. He loves her. Still.
Wow.
Even just the way he talks about her. Like, I mean, it's
His face
obvious.
lights up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does he like that shrine that you have to her?
Well, he hasn't seen it yet. Because I just did it.
So whatever music was going to support a look in a man's eye like that, I mean, I'm like, do it, man.
And we'd be remiss to not mention, is it Brandon who plays Berry Gordy?
Yeah.
Victor Dixon. Yeah.
Really incredible. And that moment between you guys, that duet, I don't think I've ever heard anything that beautiful live.
Wow, that's a huge compliment.
I don't get out of the house much.
I'll say that's definitely, well, in that case, that's an okay compliment.
He just recently regained his hearing a few years ago.
It was amazing.
Speaking of people who aren't here today, the kid that plays Michael Jackson, there's two of them. We saw Prince,
I think.
his name's Prince. So, hey. He's destined for greatness. But how old is he?
12?
12,
yeah.
And he played Michael Jackson like to a T. It was incredible. Is he at school now or something? Or, like,
Yeah, they have school every day.
They have
Actually,
a
at
tutor
the theater.
that's backstage with them at the
Oh,
theater
really?
every day.
Yeah.
Yes.
what were you gonna say?
The same thing you were going to say.
Well, have you had to replace Michael yet? Because at that age, one day you
I
turn
think
at
we've
6 feet tall.
So we still have two, like you said. One of them, Raymond Luke Jr., has been in the show from the beginning, and he's actually the one on the posters. But then besides him, we've now had 3 other Michael Jacksons, I believe, and Prince is the third of those. Because our first one, Jabril, he just got too tall and his voice started dropping.
Hey,
and then we had Darius, and now we have Prince. So puberty hits, and
That's
you
going
gotta
to be
go.
a constant struggle to find.
But I keep telling Jabril he's gonna come back as Smokey, so it's fine.
Yeah, he was amazing. He was so good. Where am I? Oh, well, speaking of Michael Jackson, the show starts and ends with the Motown 25th anniversary concert. And I'm old enough that I remember sitting and watching that. It was in 1983. Sitting and watching that, and it was an incredible concert. But the most amazing part of it was when suddenly Michael Jackson shows up and does a magic trick for everyone and shows the world the moonwalk. No one had ever seen the moonwalk. He gets up and does it. And as an audience member, I was like, is he gonna come out? And then did they ever toy around with maybe putting that in?
Yeah, we did have a version in the workshop we did a couple years ago where we did have one of our cast members, I think it was Ephraim at the time, who did the moonwalk. He was able to do the moonwalk. We're not actually sure as to why that was cut from the show.
Well, I think
that's not in our lane.
here's the thing.
He's not a Motown.
Well,
It's not on
even that.
Motown.
I think it's that we just have so much music to cover.
Yeah.
I mean, the show is 2 hours and 45 minutes long. I think the first reading was something like 6 hours. The first, once it was kind of in workshop form, was like 3.5, 4, and then
almost 4, yeah.
It was almost 4, and then in previews we were at a little over 3.
Yeah, our first preview was
3:15, and so we
yeah.
needed to cut. I mean, it's a great thing to say, you know, what a legacy Motown has in that it's got so much music that you can't fit it into a show. But you know, somebody's going to be upset.
We're inevitably
every time
going to
we cut a
disappoint
song.
somebody. Yeah, there's things that have been
But
Musical about every one of these.
But I will
people.
say, I have definitely heard that there have been murmurings of potentially trying to put that moonwalk moment back into the end of the show. Because Mr. Gordy is always coming back and adding things, changing lines. He added, only a week ago, he added the I Wish ending because he was like, I think the audience wants to get up and dance.
Oh, that was
That just
incredible.
got added like a week and a half ago.
We have a question
So-
from the audience.
Yeah.
Hi guys.
Hi.
My name is Jessica. I work here at Google. I'm a huge Motown fan, and I've seen the show 2 times. So it's fun to see you guys not in costume and as yourselves. But my question was, I know that so many of the characters you play, being such a big fan, have such interesting backstories, and like Paul Williams battling alcoholism and Marvin Gaye being murdered by his dad. Like, how do you take those things that you knew, like at the time you're playing, are going to eventually happen to your characters, and how do you bring them into your acting and how you portray them at a younger age?
Well, I mean, it's interesting how art imitates life, life imitates art. But speaking specifically to Marvin Gaye, who was, you know, murdered by his dad with a gun, you know, again, I was obsessed with like studying it, and so it was kind of all up here, and I was acting it. I even would honestly say from a place that was up here. But the first week of rehearsal, I got a phone call that my cousin was shot and murdered in Baltimore. He was hanging out with some friends, and his phone died, so he went out to the car to charge it, and his friends heard gunshots and ran outside, and he was just laying on the ground, dead. And so, in a strange way, everything that we were singing about, the what's going on, Dr. King being shot, it all just got like a lot closer, and it kind of moved from a cerebral place to kind of like a gut place. And so it became a lot easier because every time I sang what's going on, it moved from that place. But then a lot of things in the country, just I think like Motown, began to happen. We had the whole Trayvon Martin situation that happened, and we found out the verdict of Trayvon Martin right before we sang What's Going On. And it was a magical, amazing, tragic moment on stage when we're singing this song, and I kind of like just turned to my right and turned to my left, and the whole entire stage is sobbing, singing this song. And so it's one of those things where I think we're kind of experiencing a little bit of what Motown experienced. You know, we're out there to sing and dance. We want to make people feel good, and we want to make people leave with, you know, the love of music the way we have it ourselves as performers. But there's some stuff that's going on in the world, and so when that begins to affect the music, you can feel it change. And that's what happened with Motown. I think they really kind of started off in this entertainment, song and dance place, and as the civil rights movement began to develop, and we had kind of like everything going on in Europe in the Vietnam War, and as time progressed, you can hear it change in the music. So we've been experiencing that even as a cast just over the last year.
And also, we've come a long way from the '60s, and we're still in the same places sometimes too. We're still in the middle of a civil rights movement as well. So there's a lot of things that we can address in the show that are still going on in our everyday lives as well that we can bring to the stage as well.
And I'll just say that as like some of these characters start from, I know Diana Ross starts from 17 and goes to, you know, kind of mid 30s, 40s. And it's, I think, just kind of playing in the moment, what the ambition, what the motive is at that moment. Like, okay, just to get a record deal, and then it's like get closer to him, and then it's be a star on stage, and then oh God, you know, and playing every moment as it comes. That kind of helps to kind of pace with just kind of the journey and the arc of what everyone's going through, because there is so much. Your motives do change as the music changes, as Motown changes, and as everyone grows. You kind of try to stay in tune with that as far as like your age and what your ambition is or what their ambition was. And it helps reading their autobiographies or getting to talk to them and seeing chronologically what they were mentally going through at that time, and then kind of trying to get where they were.
And then
As I play Florence Ballard, and her life was kind of tragic. Like, she started off in the Supremes, and then she was kicked out, and then she was suffering from all sorts of like mental illnesses and alcoholism. And so the thing about it is, I think it's all about balance. How Mr. Gordy wanted to kind of nod his head to it, but he didn't want to like disrespect her in any way. So there's one scene where I leave in the middle of a song, or at the end of the song, I just kind of walk off. And Shelley, which is one of our associate directors, she was saying how she didn't want me to like stumble off or kind of like, just kind of hint at it and still have some type of dignity, but then at the same time, like, mentally, as the character, I'm going through that each song. I'm excited in the beginning as the primettes, and then as we get through the songs, I become less and less excited about it. And finally, at the end, there's this point where it's just like, my actor mind has made up that I'm done with being a part of it. And so, I don't know. It's a balance, of being true to the story, but then at the same time,
knowing what they went through.
Yeah.
Well, you guys do it very, very well.
Yeah, thank you.
Very well.
Well, I was going to say the thing with me and Donald, as the Temptations in the Motown 25, we kind of aging backwards. So we're old, and
there's so many Temptations.
Right. The Temptations in the top, 4 tops.
Indeed.
And so at that point in our lives, we're, our career is almost like on the cusp. We're trying to reintroduce ourselves to the world, and that was our moment where we get to show we still have it. And so it's kind of like the motivation of, we have to reprove ourselves to these people in the world that we still have it, and that we can still go out there and sing and do, though we're slower and a little older, and then as the show progresses, then we, you see the younger Temptations, and, they have more life, and, they haven't been going through the situations as, the alcoholism parts and things like that. But, it's a mind thing where, you have to remain conscious of, what these people went through. And Melvin Franklin in particular, I know that he was going through all kinds of health issues. And after shows, he would have to go and literally have to, his feet bloody because it's, he has blisters and all kinds of ailments. And I feel like in this show that I took on some of those ailments, because I feel like my knees and it took me out. Like, it took me out, like, literally. So I kind of like subconsciously go into that, and I'd be like, no, Lord, I'm 26. I'm not 56. Let me get it together. So
it's amazing to see how young you guys are in person. I sort of got, by the end of the show, I just have these images of you guys as being kind of run down because but I'm like, oh, these guys are like younger than me, and they look great.
Real quick, talking about
Run down.
No, except for you, Diana. Never.
Yeah. Talking about connecting sort of reality to the characters. KJ, here's a question for you. There's a moment in the show where you, as Diana Ross, bring up, you come out and sing "Reach Out and Touch" somebody's hands.
Just reach out and touch.
Reach out and touch. Sorry.
Somebody's hand.
The outfit you're wearing during that part, you got to be careful what they reach out and touch.
Some people get very touchy.
That's my
very,
question. That's
very
my question,
touchy.
because you bring up somebody. First of all, it's after the intermission. You come out and it's this great, like, interactive moment where you bring the audience back into the show. The energy is way high, and then you bring somebody on stage and have them sing along with. Last night it was 2 people. Yeah. It ended up being 2 really different but beautiful, touching moments. Is it always that perfect, or tell us the spectrum of things that happen?
Perfect. No, it's a broad spectrum. I mean, you don't really know. And sometimes I'll be more like, who wants to come up here? And sometimes there'll be volunteers. Sometimes there will be like, look at me, like, and people will look down, and but luckily, it can be terrifying for some people, and I want to kind of find that terrified guy, and because I think that they're the sweetest, and I'm like, come on up here, play with me, and then they'll kind of ease into it, and I feel like it makes the audience like really comfortable. And then sometimes you get people that are super eager, and they know that they have a fierce voice, and they're auditioning to be in Motown, and you don't know that until they take the microphone out of your hand, and you're like, okay, and I still have to sing this song. Thank you very much. Yeah. Sit down.
The guy that you brought up last night almost looked like he could have been in the Mafia. It was like, reach out and touch somebody's hand, forget about it.
Yeah, but I I don't know. They seem to love it, and I love it, and it's personally one of my favorite moments in the show because in my own shows and like solo shows or whatever, I'm so in the audience, and I really want to connect with people, and as I've been watching Diana Ross and how she loved to sing that song, she really loved to go out into the audience and sit on their laps and kiss people, and she was just very personable, and I just think that that's such a good representation of her and the kind of performer that she wanted to be.
Was that something that she would do, that literal
Oh,
part
she
of the
would
song?
literally go out in the audience, go out to your table or go into the audience, sit on your lap, talk to you. It was typically about a 10 or 15 minute moment in her concerts and then she would at the end have everyone raise their arms and sway and sing, and that was like her standard thing in the 70s and 80s. I mean, it was like a big part of her gig.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions from all the smart,
Don't be shy.
beautiful people in here? Just approach the microphone because they're recording it, if you would. And I'll fill it with some filler music. Dun, 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 dun.
I'd like to sing another song.
We have to sing about 40 songs tonight.
You know what,
so why don't you come on?
Tonight, yeah, right?
Yeah, why don't you come and see the show?
You really should see it. It really is incredible. Yeah, we were talking about, the pressure of not only performing for some of the people that are still alive that you were actually playing, but, when I was coming back to sit down in my seat, I heard an old guy like talking to the usher, was like, I saw the Supremes in 1957 in Oakland, California, and then in 1958 I saw them in Washington, and the guy's like, okay, great. But then I started looking around and sort of seeing like there's a lot of that type of person in the audience that have lived through this, and you're kind of representing their youth in a way, and so is there a lot of pressure to kind of live up to people's memories?
I think we feel the responsibility to, uphold their memories, and our thing is, like it says at the Motown Museum, live it again. For a lot of people, they're coming out, and for a lot of people, actually, we've experienced that this is their first Broadway show. So not only are they getting to relive their youth, but they're also being introduced to the theater, which is something that I personally love about our show, is that people who would not have normally come to the theater are. But also, I just think we feel the importance of the legacy of Motown, that we try to do our best to represent these people so that we can uphold, the things that they remember, so they don't walk away being like, well, that wasn't really, they actually are, and they stand at the stage door nightly and thank us for our portrayals of the people they love, and they're like, you were just like Smokey, and so, and that means a lot to me actually when they do that, because that's why we're up here and that's why we're doing it. And as an artist, that's what you strive to do, is to make people happy.
Something that's really cool to me is, you look into the audience and you see, someone who's 80 sitting next to someone who's 50, who's sitting next to someone who's 20, who's sitting next to someone who's 10, and it's just like everybody is. I remember growing up listening to this music. I'm 27. My mother listened to this music. Her mother listened to this music, and so it's such a big responsibility to be able to kind of pass it on in this form, and on Broadway in such a big form.
Thrown off by people singing along. I swear the lady 2 rows behind me was singing all the parts to My Girl. She would go, My Girl, My Girl, My Girl, like all the parts. I look back at some point, because we were fairly near the front, and everyone, like every fourth person is like,
there's a moment in the show that I have to mention that when I'm singing, You Really Got a Hold on Me, and
Sing it, Charles. Sing it.
I love you. There you go, baby. That was for you,
Tony nominee Charl Brown.
So we're doing that. It's a very tense moment. We're in the South, and it's the '60s, and as you know, what was going on in America in the South in the '60s, it was very racially charged, and we're trying to have a dramatic moment. And I start the song very timidly. I'll do it again for you. I don't like you, and then I pause, and then I'm gonna pick back up later. Well, meanwhile, the audience, depending on who they are, has gone on to the chorus. And I'm like...
And they're good and happy, too.
They're like... But I love you! Right, and they're like, you really got a hold on me. And I'm like... You were so happy. But I love you. This is my gig, all right? They're paying me. No, but So we do have people who are very responsive, but actually it's all in good fun, and I do love it. It's fun to have to take back control of the audience in that way. But they come to, a lot of people, like I said, it's their first time at Broadway. They come to have a concert and have a good time. The ushers constantly have to have them to remain in their seats so the people behind them can see. We do have standing room section though if you want to come and stand. But so it's a fun time, and we love being a part of that for people.
That's the thrill. That's the thrill of live theater. It's not a movie where there's like a screen, but when the audience is involved, it's like, yes, we're all in it together, and it kind of just puts down the wall, you know.
Makes it new again.
I had a person, the first month of previews, she would stand outside every day, everywhere we went, Melvin, and I'm like, who? You, oh my God, I love you. Like literally, like everywhere I would go to the grocery store. Good Morning America, she just screamed my name and would stand out and just scream my name and ask me to hug her and take a picture every time. And I was just like, these people are invested in this show, and they really think that we are these people that we portray on. I'm like, I'm Jawan. I knew.
I just want to piggyback on the responsibility kind of the show and how the connections. Last night I went out the stage door at the end of the show, and I met these two women from the South, and they were like 70 and 71, and they were talking about how they were school teachers in the 60s, and how they would see the first like she's like, I had the first black child in my class, and she's like, I just know how tense it was, and she's like, I'm so glad that you guys really talked about how tense it was down there. She's like, because she was from South Carolina, and she was just like, that is a real thing, and she's like, we would listen to this music, and it really brought down walls. It really opened up. She's like, I went to a concert for Marvin Gaye, and it was the first time I'd ever seen black women and white women screaming for the same person at the same time in the same building, you know. And I was just like, oh my, you know, it just reminds you how real this is, you know. Being young and not really having lived that kind of segregation, you're just kind of like, holy, like when someone can come up to you and tell you and cry to you about seeing that first black child who was terrified in the room. She's just like, how do I make this child feel better? No one needs to feel like this. And her relive that, and also get relieved that this is where we are now by watching the show. It would just like touched me so deeply. And I stood there and talked to them for like 30 minutes because it just felt so good to hear how this moved them and how it reminded them of something, a time that was so vulnerable for the entire country.
And it's great that you get to see it happen every night, you know, just everybody is brought together by this music before your eyes every night. It must be a great, great feeling.
Yeah, because at the end, we have about 4 minutes left, but I just wanted to ask you guys about the end of the show. Like, you know, I haven't been a performer and stuff. I've seen tons of Broadway shows. I have never seen anything like the end of the show. Everyone in the audience is on their feet clapping, and you don't make them. Everybody, it's just like giving a standing ovation, kind of at the big concert part.
You feel like something's about to start, not end.
I mean, it was late on a work day, you know, and you got older people in the audience. That place is thriving, and just on their feet, so much fun. The show ends, and people are just like, all right, let's go. You know, there was so much energy.
Let's start a band.
Yeah, is it like that every night?
Every matinee,
every night.
every day. It's shocking. It's amazing to see because you aren't always a part of shows that do that, and that's what I love about the show is that people are going to leave, and no matter what is going on in their life, even if from the cast, I think it's a moment where you just kind of check out and you feel really good. And then it just kind of motivates you to be happy. There's something really joyous about this show. And Mr. Gordy and Charles Randolph Wright, my mom's fiance had passed away the day before I started. And so they were supposed to come like that weekend. And she decided to come the following week, and they were like, have her come. She'll feel, he's like, Charles said that Trayvon Martin's mom came twice, and she was like, she had to come twice because it just made her feel better. She's like, this is the first time I've really smiled and laughed, you know, since my son was killed. And so it's just that kind of like, it's amazing to me how it does transform you. And even going through that myself and losing someone, and lots of people in this cast have had a lot of personal drama, but for some reason that building, this show has such power to uplift And I think that that is transcendent, and we watch it every single day as the audience stands up and is screaming and clapping and just wants to have a joyous moment. And I've never seen that. This is my 4th Broadway show, and I've never seen it happen.
It's infectious. I mean, it really is kind of like a sugar high. Like you might think, I've been at work all day. The last thing I want to do is come and sit for 2.5 hours or 2:45 and watch a show. And literally, it's like getting a shot of like adrenaline. It's like whatever that juice they give to Honey Boo Boo Child. Like it's literally. I mean, even as performers, you come in and you're like, "Whoo, we were at Google all day and we did interviews and we did that. I'm so tired." And then that music starts, and by the end, you're like, whoa! You know, it's just one of those. It's one of those things. It's like come to the show. It's so infectious that literally people have like flown their relatives out like to see it. And we've gone outside and people are like, I live down the street. I've seen this show 4 times, but I flew out my whole family. I mean, it really is one of those shows. So like, come and see it. Like, it'll literally uplift you.
Especially if you're in a bad mood.
Go-go juice.
It's musical go-go juice.
We want to thank you guys so much for your time and your effort and your time.
Thank you for having us.
Go warm up your voice, drink some tea, get in character. Thank you so much for coming out and talking to us nerds.
Yeah, the show's amazing. Go see it. It's a lot of fun. It's so much fun. So
thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for lunch too. That was great.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.